So, hey, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Life Inspired. If you've never tuned in before, this is a program where we're talking about how and why people want to follow God. He loves us and he has great plans for each one of us. And everyone's story is different. And today, our guest story might just meet up with yours, or you might know somebody that needs to hear this story. If you do and you need to share the story, you can share it through our Facebook page. You know how you just share from Facebook, or from our YouTube channel. You can share the link to the YouTube show of it. Or we also have lifeinspiredshow.com. We do ask, if you would, that you would subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page, however you're watching, because that helps more people hear about how and why God loves them and wants them to turn towards him and see what a great, inspiring life he has for them. And so our guest today is my friend Zach Book, who we had his wife Maddie on recently. Hi, Zach. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so grateful that you are going to come on. And I hope that besides sharing your own personal turning point story, that maybe you'll tell us a little bit about how the launch of Maddie's new book went. We'll ask you that at the tail end, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So, great. Okay, so you know the three questions. Typically, people's lives are kind of going along, they're doing their own thing, not really following God, and he taps them on the shoulder or does something in their life with some kind of thing and turns them around. Most people have numerous turning points in their lives. They, kind of navigate lots of ways. It's like going on a trip and you have, here's where I am and here's my destination, and I have to go through here first and turn this way for a little while. And then, so that's kind of how our lives are like, right? So tell us, I don't know what turning point you're going to talk about, but tell us a little bit about the backstory for that turning point. What was life like before whatever turning point you're going to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my wife and I have been married for going on 10 years this year. And kind of leading through that first
Wow.
10 years, I would probably say that's kind of where, my story truly started. Maddie has always carried the spiritual burden in the house. I was taught more, you know, more religion, maybe less relation. I wasn't really taught the relationship piece with God so much. And so, leading a family without that relationship with God, uh, per se, made things really difficult. And, I would say
Wow.
that I was walking along as a lukewarm Christian, going to church every Sunday, kind of going through the motions, um, but not really diving into what the Lord had for me, and really walking in the path that He wanted, because He has all of these things He wants to bestow upon us if we ask for it. But here I was, letting my wife really carry the burden of that. Um, and so that was the first 6 years, 6, 7 years of our marriage. And I could tell that it was really starting to weigh on on Maddie, because um, she was, I knew that there was more I could do. I just didn't really know what what I could do, right? Pray, go to church, walk through those motions. But little did I know what was to come would be an entire lifestyle godly change.
Okay, so what happened? What brought that turning point on that you changed your whole lifestyle?
Yeah, so I went to going on 3 years now. 3 years ago, I went to a men's retreat at church, and um, that was a Father's Day present for that my wife got me. She signed me up for this men's retreat, and that changed everything. Being with a group of men, godly Christian men, that you can really lean on, get to know. God really shook me up that weekend. He's like, I could hear him just saying, Zach, you know, I need you to be the leader. I need you to be the leader that I want
Wow.
you to be. I need you to be the husband that I know you can be. And I know you can be, I want you to be the father I know you can be, to your children, and the
Wow.
brother that you can be to the men around you. And that weekend changed everything. And since then, that was my trajectory change. that was, that was when everything changed. I came home, my wife knew right away. Yeah, it was obvious, right? I mean, the lifestyle change, leading my children, helping my wife lead in the spiritual department of the household, really diving into church, diving into what God had for us and our family, really kind of led into um, a complete change for me.
Okay, so what did it, like, did you hear an audible voice when you went on this retreat? What changed? What happened at the retreat that made you hear him or know that he was trying to tap into you and tell you that there was all this
Yeah.
potential inside?
Yeah. So it was all in the gut, right? It was, I from the heart upward, he was telling, I could just, I just knew, he just revealed everything that he wanted me to be. I mean, the first the first 6, 7 years kind of flashed before me, thinking of, all the times that I could have been intentional as a father, in the spiritual way, um, seeing how I can be intentional as a husband, um, in the spiritual way, because being a husband isn't so much um, buying flowers or chocolates as it is about being intentional, um, every single minute of the day. It's an intentional act. And so, growing up, intentionality wasn't a big word that was that was bestowed upon us, as a kid. And so I really had to learn. God really showed me what it meant to be intentional, and intentionality really was the key word that I was writing on after that retreat, and even that I'm writing on to this day. How can I be
Right.
intentional with my children? How can I be intentional as a husband? How can I be intentional as a brother in my walk with Christ?
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool. And when you say that, I'm thinking as a person in the business world, how can you be intentional with your clients and stuff like that? I'm thinking,
Yeah,
yeah, that intentionality just goes through it just permeates everything. That's awesome.
it's
So,
just,
so
and
you're
yeah.
walking inspired. Go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say intentionality. Intentionality is almost an umbrella, right? And all of these titles fall under that, right? As a mortgage loan officer, as a father, a husband, a brother, everything falls under that. And it's an everyday act. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I do often ask, how do you stay inspired? So now you're walking this inspired life, desiring intentionality. How do you keep that going? I mean, when we're recording this, I don't remember when you air, but we're recording this, it's January, a couple weeks into New Year's, and people say their New
Mhm.
Year's resolutions and people set goals. And I'm reading a book right now that talks about making smart goals, specific, measurable, time sensitive, all that stuff about making them smart goals. And you can make goals, you can make New Year's resolutions, but we fall away from them because they're kind of self-focused typically.
Mhm.
And so how do you stay motivated in your intentionality that, how do you stay connected and keep that inspiration?
So a lot of it, a vast majority of it, has a lot to do with my wife. She is the most intentional person that you'll ever know, and being open to that, and really leaning into my wife. We're reading we're doing the 1 year Bible together, every night.
Awesome.
Um, we bounce everything off of each other, in terms of being intentional, things we can do, things that we want to do, things that we've done, things that maybe we can improve on. It's really having that partner, and of course praying, asking God for His wisdom, really just leaning into everything that He's given us, really utilizing those tools, in life
Right.
with a godly mindset, right? Like, look through it as Jesus would look through it, or look through it, look through, have that lens of compassion, intentionality. It's really just a different mindset and a different way to look at things.
Right. Awesome. Very cool. So yeah, so it sounds like the reading of the Bible and the praying every day is a pretty big deal. Have you learned anything since you started? Is this the first time you've done read the Bible in a year? Because that's a lot of reading.
You're right. So, last year I tried to do it by myself, but the first few days, I mean, life happens, right? And so
Yeah.
this year, my wife and I are doing it together, and that's worked out really well so far. I know we're only a couple of weeks in January, but I think that it's that's going to last because like we're excited to read it together, right? Like we listen to it before bed every night. That's the last thing we do is we go to bed listening to, we listen to it on the Bible app, right? And so, that's just a great way
That's
to end the
cool.
day.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. I love that you do it at night and that's going to set your mind for tomorrow. Like if that's the last
Yeah.
thing, like bookends. I hear a lot of people will get up in the morning and I'm a morning person. I like get up and read the Bible first thing. I'm like, I don't want to listen to any news or anything like that till after I've read my Bible. I don't want to start looking at what do I have to do for work today until I've spent some time with God and I journal. I'm a journaler. And so, yeah, that nighttime, don't have TV on. Listen to what's God got to say before I go to bed, and then that's going
Or,
to stir my thoughts all through the night.
or if you've had a bad day, it all just goes away.
Right, right. I bet it makes for a great night's sleep.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Very cool. So I know Zach would have coffee if you want to meet with Zach and talk about what is it like to become intentional. So, right? I know you do a Zoom with somebody or meet them for coffee if they had questions. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Awesome. And if any of you, so Maddies Book, oh, let's do briefly tell me a little bit about Maddies Book. So Maddies Book, you guys have two special needs daughters, and her
Yes.
book is actually like a Bible study of working
Hmm.
through some scriptures that helped her with parenting special needs children, correct?
That's exactly right. For mothers or parents, really, who are raising children who have special needs, um, and
Right.
so yeah, it launched. Her book came out back in December, the first week of December, and she's just received a flood of people wanting copies. We've had quite a few
Praise
people
God.
donate money
Praise God.
to allow Maddie to send copies of these books to churches all across America. For
Praise
their
God.
library or to hand a copy to someone in their congregation who could maybe use this encouragement. And so she's had an awesome launch. I couldn't be more proud of her than I am.
That's awesome. So then I know there are fathers of special needs kids that might
Yeah.
want to pick your brain about what that's like. So if you guys know someone, I mean, this is not what we talked about today. We didn't talk about the fact that, Zach parents special needs children, but if you know a guy that's a father of special needs kids and he would like to pick Zach's brain, I know that would be a good reason to connect with Zach. So thanks for
Oh,
that. Appreciate
absolutely.
that. All right. Well, you guys, thank you for watching. Have a terrific week. Please do share Zach's story with anybody that you know that needs to hear it, or if you know somebody that needs to tell their story from the Red Couch, even though we're still doing COVID virtually, please do that. You can share it again from the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, or lifeinspiredshow.com. And again, please subscribe and like because that helps more people. Zach, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
And you guys have a great week. Bye-bye.